Didn't want to do this video. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 65 of the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host, Chip, and this is the first day since day one of the podcast, 64 days ago, that I forgot about it. Throughout the day, I was pretty busy, and let's say my mind is being pretty focused on the exam and on the topics and on work. And the way that I envisioned it, I think it was last week when I told you, I think it was episode entitled 69%. I knew that this was going to happen, and it would have become harder to do this video, but I didn't think that it would have had this result. Let me explain a bit what I mean. So, as I was telling you today, I was pretty busy, and let's say at some point I wanted to de-stress, and so I relaxed 2 hours and a half, and I was like, okay, after that I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna study. When I went to the kitchen to start making food, I was like, I'm forgetting something. What else do I need to do? And at some point I realized, I was like, man, it's 9 p.m. I didn't do my episode. So yeah, forgive me already if this episode is gonna be late. But I think it stemmed from two main reasons. And the first one I already more or less explained to you was the fact that my mind was already challenged by so many other activities. And I, deviated a bit from my normal, routine. So that was already something that, as much as I still tell to myself that this is part of the routine, it is not really, and it is because one of the reasons and the advices that I also gave to you in one of my previous episodes was that schedule a determined time for these activities. Don't let time pass and say, okay, I'm going to do it. Because indeed, it gives me a lot of flexibility, but it also increases the risk that this happens. And that is not really okay, because it goes a bit beyond it disrupts the idea behind the podcast being something that is stable within my routine and my day in order to make all the other things find their place there. It's a bit like a glue that connects all my other activities. The other problem is that it was the idea of, the other potential title for this episode, and it would have been boring. And why is that? Because honestly, today didn't happen much. Like everything that happened was completely within my plan. So the things that I needed to do, but nothing extraordinary happened. And that makes it a bit hard, to then be able to leave yourself with a creative mindset to produce something like this. Having said this, I do not see any issue necessarily with this. And it's completely fine, given that, again, it's my first time doing this. I'm already amazed and very proud to say that most of the arguments that I brought and most of the episodes were pretty interesting, or at least were not, this kind of personal conversation where the only thing that I'm sharing, it's my view on what is happening around me. So again, very pleased by that. These episodes will happen again, for sure. There is no doubt about that. But yet it raises the challenge, and it brings me a bit down to earth, saying, yeah, this is hard. The fact that you were able to cruise by for a lot of episodes doesn't mean that it's easy. And maybe the lesson learned for today, I think maybe this could be also something nice to start proposing, if there is a lesson learned during the day. And I see these episodes as a moment of self-reflection, when I have to express my thoughts, out loud, and therefore I have to, give them a shape. They don't stay in my head, but I have to bring them out. And the lesson learned is that even though something you got pretty good at it and you have been able to follow it, if it's something that remains challenging in any nature, you have the risk of failure, and you will face a day when this will become hard. And, this is the perfect example, I think. And it has happened with, again, many things. Also this week with studying, if you get into the rhythm, you do it. And at some point, you're not able to do it anymore. You have to take a longer break. It's harder to get back into the rhythm. And I think it's just part of the process, but it's just very also hard to, let's say, ignore this more negative aspect and more this negative feeling that you have and just go forward with it. It takes a lot of acceptance, not the easiest, but we're gonna work through it. Still, just 2 days to go and then I'll be free. And hopefully everything will be okay. If it doesn't, okay, it's still okay, but yeah. I would prefer if I would be able to take this as a win and not as a lose, as always. Having said this, I don't want to, again, take more time from me because it's already late and I have to post this episode today because this has to happen. And I don't want to also keep you waiting any longer. Thank you very much for listening. If this is your first episode, go back. There are definitely much better episodes before. This was episode 65 of the Shower Podcast. Thank you very much for listening and see you at the next one.